Right, so Spain is about to play Iran, and there's few things that have come up in the last few days that you may be interested in. First of all, as I suspected and as we talked earlier, David De Gea became a debate in the media. I have to say that we've got the impression that some of the players from Spain feel that he doesn't give as much confidence as, say, Casillas used to. But they've decided that they're all going to back him because, of course, as Hierro said, they consider him one of the top three goalkeepers in the world. But what's interesting is that he plays differently, has to, when he plays for Manchester United than when he does with the national side. With the national side, he's got 3 or 4 actions during the game, so he's got to maintain the level of focus very, very intense and very, very high. With Manchester United, it's the same, but he's surrounded with more players because the team sometimes defends very deep. So when the rival has got more of the ball, and in some cases Manchester United were happy to give possession to the rival, then it's easier to keep that concentration. But also he seems to be more comfortable on his goal line than coming out, and that's something that has been noticed by the centre backs of Spain. But still, he will play. Hierro wanted to finish the debate by saying De Gea plays, and that's about it. We'll see if Kepa, who by the way it's been recommended by Lopetegui to Real Madrid as they want a goalkeeper. Courtois seems to be top of the list. Alisson is far too expensive right now, and Kepa was a possibility that they missed out on. But Lopetegui says if there was any possibility, it'll be Courtois Kepa that he will want. It seems like De Gea not only is expensive anyway, the performance in the World Cup, unless he wins the World Cup for Spain, is something that affects decisions in Madrid. The last game, the last few games is something that Real Madrid takes into consideration, because remember, they don't only buy the player, they buy the image and the sense of imbatibility of being able to be the best in the world. That's what they want, at least the impression of it. And De Gea has suffered from it with the mistakes that he had against Argentina, against Switzerland in the friendly, and certainly in the first game in the World Cup against Portugal. But yes, there was debate, and I think he's right in one thing he says about being abroad works against him. In a way, it works in his favor, because the kind of pressure that you have when you are abroad is not the kind of pressure that you have when you are at home. Abroad, yes, you're being criticized if you don't do things well, but it doesn't feel personal, or you don't receive that criticism as personal. When you're at home, you do. So by being abroad, it helps him learn through the mistakes as he deals better with criticism. But when he goes back home, what happens is, of course, people don't know him that much. They haven't heard that much of him. He's the guy that is abroad, and it kind of doesn't help him. It makes easier for people to criticize him. I think he feels he's not treated fairly by the Spanish media and the Spanish fans. Maybe right or not, but in any case, there's been a lot of criticism this week. He will play, and let's see what else Hierro changes, because of course now it's not the Lopetegui team anymore. The lineup against Portugal it was, but now we're going to see where Hierro wants to take the side. And I've got the impression that he's either add more quality in the midfield with Thiago instead of Koke, or perhaps put something like Lucas Vázquez instead of Koke, with Silva more inside. Something that gives quality and depth, because of course Iran will defend very, very deep. Carvajal may come back as well, as he's been training for 4 or 5 days now, and he's in perfect conditions, so they say in the federation. So with few details that Spain have got on Iran, you would see that that quality is needed, that depth and that pace in the ball will be needed. For instance, in the last 19 games, in I think it's 15 of them, they have not conceded, Iran. They've only conceded 5 goals in those 19. And 40%, this is a stat that Hierro gave, 40% of the goals that they score is in set pieces. And of course, Spain conceded 2 in set pieces. So they're going to have to be very, very careful about committing fouls around the box. And there was another thing that was worrying for Spain, even though me personally had a impression at the end of the Portugal game, which was affected by the third goal of Cristiano Ronaldo, which kind of deflated me, and I think a lot of people as well. But then as the days progressed and you see the difficulties of all the sides, but also you realize the quality of some of the stuff that Spain were doing, I felt more optimistic. But there were still weaknesses. Not in the terms of the personality. They showed a lot of strength, a lot of personality. The fact that Spain came from behind twice to turn the game around suggested that they overcome difficulties, and that is so important in a World Cup. In the past, we concede 2 goals, having scored first, and that would have been the end of the game. Now you see that this group have got a mental strength that is absolutely crucial. But going back to that weakness, which could be important against Iran, and Iran that will not speculate, I'm pretty sure most of the time will make sure that if they recover the ball, it will go quickly to the wide area, and from there they'll whack it up front with the idea of getting Asmono, for instance, with the ball, what they call the Iranian Messi, and that's the worst thing you can call anybody. But anyways, a guy that at 17 was the first exportee of Iran, and who of course plays for Rubin Kazan, so he's playing at home in his stadium. Anyway, the idea will be that, or make sure that Jahan Baksh has got the ball as well. He will play in the wide areas in the right hand side. That will be the game plan. That's what's expected by Spain. And going back to the weakness, which I haven't mentioned yet, is that that second ball and that long ball was not very well defended by Busquets, especially. So against Portugal, quite clearly when the ball went high, Ronaldo holding it had it was easier than usual because he may have had a centre back behind him, but there was nobody in front of him. I think Busquets, who only recovered 1 ball in the whole game, wasn't quick enough for the pressure high, or then didn't take the right decision to avoid that long ball, or to defend that long ball. Didn't seem in the right place most of the time, and that is a problem because it's absolutely crucial to the side. So they'll have to improve on that because it will be a lot of it. And how you do that is, of course, making sure that the defensive line is high, but also that Busquets is more careful in that role that he has of avoiding that. What's important for Spain is that they steal the ball high up the pitch, that they don't allow Iran to control the ball much, and that we don't have to defend in our own half. Because if we, steal the ball in the last third, that's where we can create danger with the quality we've got. A lot of the time we'll be attacking a static defense, and that is where the importance of the positional game that Silva has, perhaps, and Iniesta has, will be crucial. Thiago as well, if he plays, and that last pass. And of course, what will be important too will be that Costa seems to be adapted a bit more to the football play by Spain. I don't think there'll be many chances for Busquets to find him long as he did against Portugal, but it will be more a matter of being patient, sharpen up and improve that first touch, because there'll be a lot of that. He'll have to move a little bit deep to receive the ball, and then see if he can take advantage of that space that is created with that move, or somebody else can. He's going to have to work very hard for everybody else. And that's the plan, just a lot of possession and make sure that there is enough quality in the last pass for what it should be a victory of more than 2 goals, I would expect. Yes, Iran have been defending very well, and it will make life very difficult, but that first goal may just turn things around. Of course, for Iran it's important to get something out of here. I know they don't expect to go out of the group, but they do expect to compete. It's interesting what Queiroz told the side when at some point he was actually training with only 3 players. Little by little more players came up, but when he got them all together, he did say that there's only 2 possibilities for Iran. One is to win or to learn. There's no defeats here. Even a defeat can be a learning process. And if they win, of course, it's something to celebrate. Talking about celebrations, it has been wonderful to see 15,000 Iranians in the streets of Kazan. They will beat the Spaniards. There'll be about 1,000 Spanish fans, not many. We don't tend to travel. And out of those 15,000, there'll be a lot of women who, of course, are not able to go to the stadiums in Iran. The likes of Masoud, the former Osasuna player, has said that his mom has never watched him play, so I think he's brought her to Russia. But Infantino, the FIFA president, has already asked the Iranian Federation to consider the possibility of allowing women into the stadiums. It's something that pressure should come from inside as well, and it is coming from inside. Some of the players are demanding a change of that weird rule. So that's Iran, that's Spain. There'll be other games as well, and depending what happens here, then we'll start looking at the next phase. Of course, a game first with Morocco, and then let's see if we get Russia or Uruguay, but that will be after. Let's first beat Iran. I will be doing a YouTube live from after I finish with 5 Live, which unless I move quickly, I'm going to be late to. So I am really very much enjoying working with Kelly Gates and Mark Chapman and all the crew at 5 Live. But in terms of YouTube, subscribe and comment, because I do enjoy in all these long walks that I'm doing from the flat to the red square where the TV and radio compounds are. I tend to read what you comment, and I tend to answer when I can. Subscribe, as I say, and I hope you keep enjoying the World Cup with me. There will be much more to come. Bye-bye.